Our pictures that we take when we're around and traveling, they get uploaded to Google Pictures, Google Pics. And then we get these reminders once in a while, like 5 years ago to the day, and then it gives us a picture, or 10 years ago to the day, the picture comes up. And with the pictures, the memories come up and we think of, whoa, wasn't that a great experience? So in the same way, I think when we go traveling today, we look at what do we learn from traveling? What are those pictures in our minds? What are the experiences that these pictures reflect? And to me, one of the greatest experiences whenever we travel is to experience hospitality. I was just 20 years old. The first time out of our Romania communist country in '89 in December, the walls came down. In the spring of 1990, I was traveling. I went to Austria, to Vienna. It was like from little country to, whoa, this is big. Sunday was coming around. I was looking for a good Lutheran church. No Lutheran church, that's how I grew up. I looked for a Protestant church. No Protestant church. All churches Catholic. I thought, oh, what am I gonna do? Well, I went to the Catholic church. I didn't have the right time. Just went in. And the priest was there preparing for the communion, for Mass. And he saw me. There was this, who is this guy, he thought. So he came and he talked and he welcomed me and he invited me to share during Mass about my experience and what it is like to be free and be able to travel. And I felt like in this strange country, in a total new world, where growing up Protestant was like the great thing and Catholics were like, keep your distance from them. He invited me in and embraced me, touched my heart. And 30 years later, I still think, how amazing an experience of hospitality, of welcome, of embracing me, who was so different from that and from him. And that's what the story in Hebrews reflects. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some have entertained angels without knowing it. And this passage from Hebrew refers to an Old Testament story where Sarah and Abram were in a tent living down close to the wilderness with their sheep. And there are coming these strangers. Are they two? Are they three? And when Abram sees them, he bows down to the ground. He welcomes them. Sarah prepares a meal. They celebrate. They are like, God is coming to us in these people. They didn't know them. And these people who came, they brought God's message. You will have a baby. You will have a child. You will have a future. You will have a future with hope. Strangers carry blessings when we welcome them. Second experience, what I learned from traveling, is there are always some people willing to help. I remember being stuck in the subway, different city. I tried to get a ticket, different language, didn't speak it. I put my credit card in, and I pull it out really fast, because that's what they always tell you. It didn't work. I put it in and pull it out fast. Doesn't work. I do it again and again. Doesn't work. Comes another guy, taps me on the shoulder, takes my card, he puts it in, leaves it in. That's how the machines work there. There's always someone willing to help. When I was lost in the woods, put my wife through hell, a real low point. There were people from the volunteer fire department trying to help, being with my wife and going out and looking for me. Always someone willing to help when we feel like at a loss. One of the learning experiences from traveling when we really need help. And then, what else is it? It's always beautiful to travel with someone else, with a companion, like a traveling companion. And that applies to life's journey too, and exploration far and close, like Lewis and Clark. It's not just Lewis, it's not just Clark, it's Lewis and Clark. It's Shirley and Kathy. It's Peggy and Chris. It's good friends, good people, partners with whom we travel, with whom we share experiences. And it makes all the difference in the world. And that's what these two fellows had on the journey to Emmaus. They're walking together. And it's so beautiful in this story. I think it's on purpose there, Luke writing it down. One has a name, Cleopas, and the other one has no name in there in the story. And I think it's on purpose because it's for us to put our name into that story and knowing that someone is walking with us, someone is traveling with us, and along the journey, in a stranger, Jesus meets them. Jesus comes walking with them. They don't recognize Jesus. And then they start sharing. And Jesus asks them, what's going on? And they feel their hearts drop. They feel like Jesus died. Their hopes are crushed. They feel like down in the dirt. What does Jesus do? He listens to them when they share their brokenness, their exhaustion, their disappointments. And that's the greatest gift we can have along our journey. People who listen, who care, who understand, who are there with us. And then, again, over table fellowship, in the hospitality of sharing a meal, Jesus thanks God. He breaks the bread. He shares it with them. And they recognize him. It's this, wow, a stranger becomes Jesus in person. He's walking with us. And we felt that burning in our hearts before when he talked about the scriptures. Have you ever felt this? There is something there, this energy, this excitement, some invitation for us to trust, to be invited into. And that's the age-old message that is still true. Jesus is walking with us no matter what. And this is the story how it goes in the Old Testament. You may remember they were carrying the Ark of the Covenant, and that was where the tablets of Moses, the 10 Commandments, were in the Ark, and they had this cherubim like angels on top, and the presence of God was with that Ark of the Covenant, in that tabernacle, it traveled with them. Now that Ark of the Covenant came into the temple in Jerusalem. They built a temple, house of God. That's where the presence of God was residing. Where is God? In the temple. You feel God close there. But then something so interesting happened when the people were deported from their homes. Ezekiel has this vision that the presence of God, the Shekinah in Hebrew, is moving from the temple out with the people and walking with them to the rivers of Babylon, where they're weeping and grieving that they lost their home. And then this very presence of God that we may have thought is confined and contained to the temple in Jerusalem is opened when Jesus dies. It says the curtain in the temple split from top to bottom. It's like the confining the presence of God is not behind the curtain anymore. It opens up and God is walking with us. And when Jesus talks about the temple being destroyed and being rebuilt again, he talks about the temple of his body, and Paul writes about our bodies being temples for the Holy Spirit. In our own bodies, in our breath, in our heartbeat, the living one is walking with us. When in your traveling, have you felt like a burning heart? When in your traveling, have you felt like bits and pieces of the presence of the living God being revealed to you? Will you pay attention to that, to the movements of the Spirit, as our journey continues?